the rental.
Oh, good. I'll do the same.
Okay, we're going to go ahead we were pretty close to the 5-minute recess, but we'll come back from our recess at 2 minutes after 10. And I'd really like to welcome and share our appreciation with having Chip Massey, our Workforce Development Director at KCC, and I don't know what all titles you have there, Chip.
Neither do I.
And former County Commissioner, Klamath County Commissioner Jim Belay, who's going to be visiting a little bit about the foundation campaign that's underway, and I believe former Commissioner Belay is a co-chair or the chair?
Co-chair.
Co-chair. I think Colonel Harper reminded us of that at our meeting down at the school the other day. Prior to turning it over to them, I'm just going to give a little bit of background information that will make hopefully a little more sense as we delve into this transition that we're undertaking right now with workforce. About 11 years ago, we had an organization that served Klamath and Lake County called CLETI, and that's all I'm going to say about CLETI. But from that organization, we got an organization called COIC that's been in our community ever since, in both Klamath and Lake County, providing workforce and educational services to our community. And many of our members in the audience today I know are here as a result of that, and what's happened here in Lake County, I think it's been a booming success. And as we look forward to the transition to KCC, we believe as time goes on, it will only get better. The local network of folks involved in this, including the service provider, I think lend ourselves to doing that. But just back onto the COIC just for a quick minute, you know, it was due to, and it's been pretty open, it's been due to the whole workforce program nationally and how it's funded as to what really precipitated what I would call a unexpected change in service providers. And Klamath Community College, as I said last Thursday at the meeting over at the school, I guess I didn't say it openly, I said it in the work group. I happened to have, I guess, 3 vice presidents sitting at the table I was at, but Klamath Community College has been a tremendous partner here in the county. We couldn't think of a better partner, and the things that we're going to be able to work on as we go forward to strengthen that relationship, both in program offerings but in financial support to the college, because the colleges went the extra mile in making sure that the programs that have been developed here and now workforce have been very successful and very meaningful to our citizens. So I'll stop with that and I'll turn it over to the 2 gentlemen that are here today to update us.
Okay, I think I'm going to share with you first. I'm Chip Massey. I'm the Director of Workforce Development at Klamath Community College. While I don't have any additional titles there, it does mean I oversee the Lakeview campus in the ILC. And work at the distance education on workforce training and development. So we're also working kind of in the outlying areas, both in Klamath and Lake. I also oversee a couple of other funding programs within my department. So the SNAP program, which is the food stamp 50/50 program, I help manage that. I help manage the Adult Education Center that we have that also is in partnership with Goodwill. And we're looking to expand into your community, and right now it's offered virtually. We're hoping that we can actually establish a physical presence in this next year of some sort. So those are the kinds of things I've been working together. The other thing, just to pad my resume a little bit, I've worked closely with Dan over the years in workforce development. I was originally many years ago, the chair of the Oregon Workforce Alliance, and was part of the changeover from the TALK OA to the new 4 rural workforce board regions. But I'm not wearing that hat today, although I'm happy to, I'll probably slip some information in because I do get a little bit of background.
Chip, I'm really glad you're saying that, and I apologize for interrupting, but Chip has been incredibly instrumental in not only the transition from TACO and his role there, but as the chair of the East Cascades Workforce Investment Board, which is this 10-county consortium that he spoke to with the 4 regions, and led us down that path of what seemed like an impossible task, and his leadership got us, yes, his leadership got us to where we're at now. So that was the other part I wanted to say, besides thank you, but you're so ingrained in knowing what these programs are about because you've been on the front line making sure it happened for our community. So not only thank you, but just an acknowledgement, you know what you're talking about.
Well, I appreciate that, and I try to know what I'm talking about. I try to be well read on it. So the thing that I would say, because I shared some of that to get to this, if we get a contract signed with the East Cascades Workforce Investment Board, I will no longer be on the EQIB because a provider cannot have a seat on the actual workforce board. So I would actually become a representative probably for Klamath and Lake as a sub-region in one of the advisory committees and continue the work, but it would mean that I would resign my position as chair of that organization, so there was no conflict of interest between our organization receiving the money, putting services to work on the ground. So there has been many conversations about that, and I wanted to make sure I was being upfront with everybody around what that meant. So I'm going to dive right into kind of the COIC transition and how KCC came into this. A couple of little things about what we're seeing. I have no solid numbers, and my apologies for that. Every service provider, we've talked about it at the board level, struggles with this because it seems to get later and later and later that the final numbers come out and what the breakup is going to be. But I can give you some very general kind of, here's how we feel about it, this is what we think is happening, and this is the direction we're going. So essentially, COIC was a contract provider in Lake County. Their big presence was around the youth program that you have here, particularly the summer youth program, but other youth engagement as well. And then some of the adult DW. COIC had some good leveraging opportunities in it. They were also involved with DHS. They were involved with some other organizations and doing contract work for them. So it gave them a little broader presence here. The one thing that I'm saying that why we're being very careful and circumspect about moving forward is we will not have that. Actually, one of the reasons that the contract has shifted is that the DHS funding that they were working with here has really been the big evaporation of money. So we're working at kind of reestablishing the leveraging opportunities and who we're going to be working with and there. Nothing against COIC. It was a prudent decision. But we are going to be working with one bucket of money as opposed to 2 or 3 contracted buckets of money. Basically, the WIOA dollars are utilized to provide training services to adults and dislocated workers. So right now, there are folks working with some of the workers who were laid off in your county just recently, and that's part of that WIOA funding. And on the youth side, work experiences and training or work preparation. Those are really the 2 areas that WIOA Title I funding goes. And that's what we're contracting for. How we got here was COIC decided we're going to have to finish up this year and wrap this up. KCC was the second highest point total bidder for the contract in the South region. And so the EQIB board, in the interest of keeping things moving and trying to keep it on a fast track for a smooth transition, said enter into negotiations with the second place bidder to get this contract and keep things moving. The formal bidding process would have been rather lengthy and we would have had some timing issues. It doesn't mean it won't be competitive again in the future, but this was the way to transition it and maybe keep everybody intact for this year. We've talked a little bit, it gets deeper, and this is something I know Dan has seen, but I'll give his background because Brad and Ken, I don't know how much he dealt with it. Money comes from the feds, goes to the state, filters down to each of the regions. So there are a couple of different strings that are attached. One is there's an adult dislocated worker portion, and then there's a youth portion. And then it breaks down even further. Each county gets a percentage of each of those, and then it's got to be applied in different ways. So on the adult side, 25% of the funding has to be used on direct training services. So actually training people for a job. That can be through an educational process, short-term training, those kinds of things. But those dollars set aside absolutely have to be used on the adult side. The rest of it is then around the service side, which is inputting, intake, getting people connected with services. On the youth side, 20% of the allocation can be applied to in-school youth, and 80% of the allocation can be applied to out-of-school youth. You're in a unique position because you don't officially have out-of-school youth in Lake County. You have nearly 100% graduation rate from your high school. So it means that that 80% of out-of-school youth dollar number isn't one that's being used. So generally, Lake County has gotten kind of the full load on the in-school youth. There's some work going on in the background, so I'll stick on the ECWIB hat just for a second. There's some work going on in the background to figure out how we can loosen that a little bit so that there's a little more flexibility in it and we can be maybe a little more focused on programming, but that hasn't actually taken place. There's a discussion going on with the Oregon Workforce Board, so the state board, on how there could be a little loosening there, because that is one of the areas that has kind of restricted what WIOA dollars could be on the ground in Lake County. So we're looking at how do we shift that. The biggest things I would say in our discussions, I think we've had good discussions with the school district here. I think there's a great partnership developing. I think we've had really good discussions. I know Dan and I meet regularly in the workforce world. I think there's some opportunities for partnership, and I am here to say KCC leadership wants to keep your programming whole. How we get there, we haven't quite got those numbers figured out. We have made a commitment that we think is a baseline commitment to the school district to help keep everything in place. But there's going to be a little more discussion as we get to work with the players in the community. You have a certain amount of local agency funding that's going into the work experience. We don't have that relationship. So I'm going to be working with and just met Jeff finally on meeting those folks and starting that conversation. Our expectation is funding will be flat or slightly down from previous years for this next year. That's just kind of the number that we did. We were told probably expect about a 10% reduction. We understand the allocation has been described, but the formula by which it needs to be put on the ground has not been completed yet. So I don't want to say here's X number, but we did pick kind of a baseline number to hopefully keep Jeff in place, and then we will add to that as we need to expand out into the summer program once we get a real feel for the amount of money that is there. So that's been our biggest goal. I think it was one of the things that had kind of a finite deadline to it so that the school district could say, we're going to put the alternative high school, we're going to take that on and manage it. We have 2 people we want to have involved in that. And if I'm over speaking, Will, please let me know.
Spot on.
Okay, and they have 2 people they wanted to keep in place. It was important to them. And so we were at least able to say, looking at all the numbers, here's the base WIOA dollars that could be used to keep the youth work experience program kind of going. There's going to be more discussion about that over the next couple of weeks. We will be entering into what I think is officially our contract negotiating phase probably Friday with the East Cascades Workforce Investment Board. There'll be multiple conversations over the next couple of weeks. We are on a pretty tight timeline because the KCC board probably has to have 2 readings so that they can finalize it in July. So my goal is to have a draft of this contract by next Friday so it can be on the June board meeting for its first reading. So the pressure is on to kind of get to that and make sure that we do that. Any questions on the WIOA service provider? And then I'll go a little bit deeper into some of the other things that we're doing also.
I don't have necessarily a question right now, Chip, but I know we've got some agency folks in the back of the room that have been partners, and I don't know for today's discussion how we want to handle this. I don't have a game plan here, but I do want to give them a chance to, at some point, to be able to talk about the program.
That can be now.
Support. If you're okay with
I'm
that.
okay with it,
Okay,
and then I'll circle back to.
I know, and we have community corrections here, we have juvenile here, we have a variety of folks, so yeah.
And this will be my first meeting with a lot of folks, so sorry it's taking place in public.
That's all right.
That's okay.
Do you guys want to speak a little bit on the programs, or we'd love to hear from you.
Do you work
So,
with CYC?
I'll talk of one. You know, with fire training has always been a difficult thing for us to coordinate as a whole. Getting the cross section of, you know, being able to get the DPSST, you know, qualifications through the school and get the credit for our firefighters, not only in the wildland, but in the other components that they do has been that's a huge aspect. We've been trying to foster that program that you're doing through your public safety component. I personally went through your EMT program and I thought it was great because I did it here. I've never had the opportunity since I've been a working adult to be able to do that without having to drive far and wide and give up family time. So that was a huge success for me personally, but it's also a great thing for our organization as a whole that we have those opportunities for our young firefighters and young people to get their skills, harness their skills together, and then get credit for it in the proper format that they can carry with them into their next job. So that fire training side and the public safety side is something we'd like to see continue on so that we don't, you know, as a scope area where it's interagency with BLM and Fish and Wildlife and ourselves, that training component goes through the school is a good thing. And we do our own training obviously as well, but now that you've integrated those two together, that's one of the programs that we see as a very good positive for us.
Dave, can you just give your name?
And I apologize, I'm Dave Brillians, I'm the district ranger for Lakeview and Blythe.
Well, thank you. I'm Chuck Burley. I'm the Recreation Staff Officer for the Fremont Wainema. Jim, it's good to see you again. We have used the youth crew extensively on recreation projects. Last year, for example, they helped remodel the lookout on top of Bald Butte. They put the fence up around Campbell and Dead Horse Lake. They helped us renovate Mitchell Monument. They're just a wonderful group, and we really want to continue to take advantage of that and provide them opportunities. I know Jeff and I have talked about even trying to do some job shadowing with our road crews to see if anybody would be interested in heavy equipment operations. Take them over to our fleet shop for automotive work and you know, provide them those types of opportunities as well. This year, I don't know, I think Alan can probably talk more to the specific projects we've got lined up, but I do know we've got about 4 dozen new highway entry signs for our force that we want to get put up, and so we were hoping to have the youth crew available for that. And equally as important though, next year, our force will be going through what's called the National Visitor Use Monitoring Program, which is a 5-year, we do it once every 5 years. And we start October 1 and we finish September 30, where we monitor and interview people using our national forest to try and get a sense on what the level of recreation visitor use is. And we were hoping to be able to use the adult program for temporary help to actually do the interviews and do the monitoring out in the field. And so one of the things that we want to visit with you about is the adult program going forward. Unfortunately, David Hosak, who is our recreation program manager, had a family emergency come up last night, so he wasn't able to make it here today. But I'd like to follow up and try to get the 3 of us hooked up here sometime soon to talk about that.
That's great. We're certainly on the fast track, so we'd love to sit down and have that conversation sooner rather than later.
Okay, great, thank
So,
you.
yeah.
So did you say, Alan, what did you have?
My name's Ellie Grab. I'm the recreation specialist for the east side of the forest, and I think Chuck covered it well. Another thing I could add is on the ground, Jeff and his crews, we heavily depend on them to make things happen. The quality of services, the condition of our facilities are greatly enhanced and improved working with the youth crews, and I think we have a lot of good experiences out in the woods with the youth, and hopefully this transition is successful because we need them.
Thank you.
Good input,
Yeah.
really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
appreciate it a lot.
Not to
Then there's a
go
wildlife
in
approach.
particular direction, but I'm gonna go over here to Jake Greer, our Community Corrections Director.
I'm the Community Corrections Director. I oversee adult and juvenile probation. So a lot of our youth are involved with alternative school at CYC. We work real closely with Jeff and Ted both. My staff, Mark Albertson, he's one of our juvenile probation officers. He and our other staff work real closely with alternative school.
Terrific.
It's unfortunate that most of our kids are there, but it's also it's a successful program for them. So I'm glad to see that going to be continuing. I'm not sure on what level, but I'm anxious to make sure it stays on that same level of education that they're getting now and the different components that comes with that, because it's not your normal mainstream school. TED has a lot of flair and adds a lot of things into it, and it's been a successful program, and I know that's why Lake County has a 100% graduation rate, because if those kids didn't have a place to go, they wouldn't be graduating. That's why they are where they are, by choice.
Yep.
On the adult side of things, our adults, one thing we're lacking in Lake County is an employment office. So a lot of our folks utilize the adult program for resume building, application filing. We just had a couple last week come in and say, after and get to COIC, do my online application. So there's a lot of help there, because we can't take the time out of our day to go down and help them do that. The folks there make it happen. And work with them. So we're missing an employment office. That's our best avenue right there, is the workforce program and the adult side of things. We have a lot of folks in the county that may be misplaced from work because of whatever the case may be, layoffs, whatever. We also have folks on supervision that just don't have skills that it takes to pump gas or to get a job at the mill. That's where they go to YouTube videos on how to do these things, because they have an interview coming up. We'll work with them on how to interview, but they want to know more about the job than what we can give.
So a little spin off of what Jake was saying there, and then I'm going to let Mark visit a little bit, but on the employment office, and we all know Randy Norris really well, and I was chatting with Jake about that last week, and I failed to take advantage of visiting with Randy over at KCC last Thursday night, but I would hope that we could chat with him. He's, real community minded, and see what we could do in relationship to our KCC agreement and the value that we've gotten from COIC with unemployment work, even though we're not certified and so forth. But to see if our one stop over there might be able to move some money financially to make sure we have access to those services, because they are very critical. Otherwise, we have to go online for those that do that, or go over in person to Klamath Falls.
So we are looking, we don't handle the unemployment claim side of things, or wouldn't.
I get that, it's
handle
just the
that.
resource.
The resource side. But on the resource side, we are planning on having an individual here at least half-time. We're hoping to figure out how that works kind of more broadly. We're hoping to kind of utilize the ILC and our presence in that building as the place to go for the training, so for the resume building and the more customized kind of get ready for work stuff. We are expanding that, and I'm going to talk a little more in detail about that, but yeah, so we're hoping that is something. What we don't know is what the relationship will be with OED, and then how we can help people access OED services, because that is one of the areas that has been kind of a out in the middle of nowhere, no man's land kind of thing, and continues to be. So there's going to be more discussion around that. But I appreciate it. I think it sounds like next week and the week after I'm going to be spending a great deal of time over here visiting. So that's good.
I look forward to meeting with you. I look forward to meeting with you, because it is a successful program, and it's made a lot of our folks who otherwise wouldn't get that more successful in their lives.
Terrific.
Ginger, before I call on you, I'm going to let Mark, just while we're on this thing, just speak real quick.
I'm Mark Albertson. I'm juvenile probation. Jake's my boss. I normally don't dress like this, but
Yes,
I
you
have
do.
a survival training class with COIC. I teach the survival training, and we're going on our first survival class tonight, overnight class. The kids have to find their own food, build their own shelter, build their fire without matches. They're all jacked up. Ready to go. And so Jake's allowed me to, I spend pretty much one day a week, a full day, pretty close on preparing or get down at COIC. It really, with the adult side especially, it keeps the recidivism from happening.
Yeah.
Because those guys go in there without hope. When they have a job, it gives them hope. You know, when they're out on the street and they don't have anything, they're gonna go back to drugs, they're gonna go back to crime. It's so important to this community. All the commissioners know how much there's a revolving door at the jail. The adult side, that part of it really needs it. Going back to the kids side, I started this class to prevent kids from ending up where their parents, their grandparents end up. You know, I worked at the jail too, you know, so that I see generational things. The kids don't have hope either because their parents don't have hope. Then you send the kids back into that family environment. And so what I'm trying to do is, not only does about a third of our kids attend COIC, the other 2/3, I want to be there and show them different life skills so they don't end up where these kids are, and we'll stop the generational life of crime pretty much. And so when I first went down to CIC, and I seen Ted, and I went in there and he's wearing his gym pants, and I'm going, wow, this is gonna be bizarre. But that guy is the man for the job. I'll tell you what, he knows how to get those kids to do the things that they need to do. And I know one kid, I'm not gonna mention the name, but he was 11 and a half or 12 credits from graduating. In 1 year, he made up 12 credits. And Jeff teaches them a work ethic, you know, because their parents don't, you know. It's so important. I went to, when we found out that CIC was pulling the plug, I was just going, oh man, you know, because it is so huge in this county, and most people don't see it. You know, I didn't, before I started working for the juvenile department, I had no clue about CIC. And it is a jewel for the county. And I think, excuse me, I think it's a way to stop the revolving door, or at least slow it down, you know, and start giving our kids hope, our adults hope, you know. That's my thing. Sorry, I went on for so long, but.
Really appreciate that,
Yeah.
Mark, and I think COIC, as you were saying, is soon gonna be replaced by saying the same thing
Yeah.
about KCC.
See, and I think this is, you know, at first you look at it going, oh my goodness, but I think in the long run, it's gonna be much better. And Will and the school district have, you know, really picked up the ball too, and, you know, and going hand in hand on this together with the partnership is, I think it's gonna be a great thing.
Thank you.
So before I go to Superintendent Kale, Ginger, you had a
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit different direction here and back to the adult program. I can't speak on Dee Brown's behalf because I didn't ask permission, but I would certainly encourage everyone to contact the management at Cornerstone and at Greg Larson at Pacific Pine and Dee Brown at Collins, because they are very dependent and have really enjoyed a very good relationship with COIC and the adult program to assist in screening and hiring of employees, and also to help them when they're in a situation they are right now in a layoff. So I don't know, you know, looking at it from, I understand the training of the workers part, but also to support our industry in when they have a need for employees and when they're in a layoff situation.
Yep.
They've been very, COIC has been very responsive to all of that. So I don't know if that's going to be a part of what
It
you all are
will
doing.
be. That is part of the WIOA.
But I really encourage you to get in touch with them and
Yeah.
have conversations about what their needs are, because I know that they're concerned.
Okay, that's great.
No,
Thank you.
that's really good, Ginger, and we're fortunate, as I said before, to have Chip, who's got a tremendous background, but this is good back information for what's going on here in Lake County and the value
Right.
there. I saw Dave, I think, start to raise his hand again, is that before I go to our superintendent? It was his nose. So, Jeff, I'll let you speak too, but I want to go to Superintendent Cahill, District 7 for now.
It's just Will.
I will go to Superintendent Cahill.
I tell you, we felt like a bomb had been dropped on us, and Kevin Bradley came to visit us, and he said the COIC thing, we couldn't sustain it, we needed to pull out, so we just did our best to recognize what an outstanding program. You know, Jesse Hamilton is now calling it Jeff and Ted's Excellent Adventure at the COIC. So anyway, what an outstanding, had you heard that? Yeah. It's been an outstanding program, and this year, I think, and I've been in this district 24 years, I believe this is the first time out of the alternative education program, we're graduating 100% of the students out of that program, and they're walking across the stage this year with their peers at Lakeview High School. And I think that's an absolute first for us. And it's a real testament to the great work that these fellows have done. So that's pretty exciting. So when the news came about, we had to fly into high gear and do something. Now, there's no mystery about the budget year this year and where it is. The 7.8 billion at the state level. And we had to figure out some way to move it in order to not replace another position in the district or whatever. So we had an attrition piece in the district where a special ed position that was a flow through from Lake County ESD. We moved that funding around. In addition, the average daily membership that we pay to COIC, we just decided to go ahead and start our own thing. We're going to locate it in a boardroom down at the ILC, what was the boardroom of the ILC. We have some money left over from the elevator grant that we're going to use to probably, we got to talk to Darrell Anderson, work out the particulars on it, but to fix that room up. That was a school board room for a while. So those guys will call that room home. Lots of meetings to get this done. Meetings with COIC, we brought COIC and KCC to the table. We've had phone meetings and everything else, and moving money around and everything else, but we're going to make the transition happen. So we're very excited about it. We're very excited that it's going to be on our own campus too. We're glad about that. And anyway, we're moving forward, and it's off and running. It will continue to be Jeff and Ted's Excellent Adventures.
Well, Will, we had a Central Oregon Workforce Council group, each county's represented in the 10 counties up in Sun River as part of our other meeting that was going on to approve the budget that was proposed, and your name was mentioned. The successes down here were mentioned by some of the board members from NACWIP that were present. Your leadership and your dedication to those students, it goes above and beyond. We can't thank you enough, because this is a total partnership, this whole program, but that's such a key part, and the recognition statewide on 100% graduation is phenomenal. So,
thank you.
yeah, you bet. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Jeff.
Hi, I'm Jeff Samples, and I'm the youth employment counselor at COIC. So I do the workforce education there. And as you're talking about partnerships, our community is an amazing place. I mean, everybody stands up to help our kids and make sure, from all the different agencies, everybody, the school. I mean, it's really nice to have that kind of support for our youth. Just changing lives, changing young lives, turning them, in a better direction, getting diplomas that they never thought that they would ever see at all, and learning some skills. And a lot of it's just life skills, With me, it's more to be to work on time, to, you do this to, and this to be able to be a good employee and to succeed. We just try to show them how to succeed and how to make the right choices while they're doing that. Ted, he's just phenomenal. Oh, their workouts, you gotta see this sometime. I mean, they do 100 push-ups and burpees, and I mean, it's amazing, yeah. We have the best shaped students probably, not anywhere. But yeah, the importance of it and the support that we have right now, we're looking ahead, and not backwards. That we're doing really well, with these kids just don't learn. I'm not an educator myself, but they just don't learn the same. They're comfortable in the environment that we have set up for them, where they weren't in another environment for whatever reasons it is. So it's been a pleasure to do this, but I want to thank everybody for their support also.
So Jeff, I would take exception with your comment, you're not an educator, you're very much an educator. You really are, and it's very much appreciated, the work that you've done and will continue to do with those youth. Incredibly meaningful to their lives and to the well-being of our county. And as we went through this, just what resonates with me is the fact that you go to each county, and every county is going to be proud of things that they do, but it's not about competing with the other counties, but I wouldn't want to be in a different place as it relates to these programs. I think the commitment by all of you throughout the community, we don't have everybody here by any means that benefits and supports this, but great testimony to this. I only have one last comment. I'm really fearful that Mark hasn't alerted search and rescue about tonight's adventure.
The day's not over yet. And the night's not over yet.
That's right.
We have them on standby.
That's a good idea.
One thing I was gonna have to chip, you were talking about being school, out of school. Right now, I have probably 80% out of school enrolled in my WIA program. So, I mean, right now we have way more out of school than in school because of the alternative schools, so we could, refer to them as out of school. And that will change when we go to the school.
I said I wasn't going to comment anymore, but I remember back, I don't remember the days themselves, but in my agency days, particularly in the early 70s, I saw the work that the CCCs did back once upon a time. And I equate a lot of what you're doing with the youth. They're putting their stamp on it. They're putting their name on it. They're out and about. Chuck talked about it with the recreation and Alan. It's just wonderful that as we go, the kids that become adults can go out and show people later just what they've done, and how well they did it.
Well, then it's amazing too, like with fire and stuff. We went out on a prescribed burn the other day. So we're trying to, open their minds up to different resources and hopefully get some of them that are interested and want to go ahead and pursue that, or pursue forestry. We're working with Summer Lake, the Department of Fish and Wildlife there, and just give them, open up different things for them. I have 2 or 3 work experiences going on. One at Lakeview Distributing with Dave. I'm a young man, and he's just blossomed. Just blossomed. And it's just amazing at times. But I'm glad we're all here and we're all supportive of what we're doing.
So before we turn it back to Chip and Jim, Bob Gibbs joined us. I don't know if Bob, anything that he was, if he's just here.
I just showed up.
Okay. This is the first time.
I don't get
in
to
my
see you
11
guys,
years.
and it's a nice community, so I just thought, well, I'll come down here. I was going to give you a hard time, but we're in a meeting officially, so I thought I'd just come in and be polite.
We'll leave it at that. That works for us. Thanks, Bob.
So one more thing, when we were putting this all together, the one thing, Chip, I will say, we were a little nervous about where the KCC thing was going to be and what you were going to dictate to us. Where KCC's been wonderful. They recognized that we have an excellent program, and KCC has been wonderful in backing us 100% as far as continuing that program and supporting it. So Thank you.
Well, thank you, and I'm learning a lot of the wrinkles, so as we work together, we'll figure out what
Right.
part is what and how that
Right,
works, so. Because we're learning that too, yes, sir.
Back up to the federal funding, so everybody have the foundation of the program that provides that federal funding and how that originated.
You got it. So a little background on WIOA itself at this thing. So basically, for many years, it was WIA, which was the Workforce Investment Act, and it had not gone through any sort of restructuring until about 3 years ago when new legislation was introduced, which is called the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, the WIOA Act. And the funding, so the legislation and the appropriation is from the federal level through Congress. And it is parted out to schools, to states for use in workforce development in those states. And like any federal dollars, comes with some pretty significant strings and reporting requirements. And then the state carves it off into the districts, and then our local workforce boards do the strategy and kind of what are the priorities in each of the communities. The goal with the breakup of the larger group was so there would at least be a smaller group of counties focused on their needs. It used to be a 25 county region, 24 county region, and now we're down to a 10 county region that we're working in. So the workforce investment dollars have some very specific prescribed uses. So Title I is what we're kind of talking about today on the youth and everything. Title II is the adult GED program, so that's one of the other funding sources. And what we're hearing from WIOA is a lot of the reporting requirements are going to change. It's all going to be about workforce preparation and readiness, how you report on that. So when you're using WIOA dollars, there will not only be getting kids maybe a diploma or a GED or those, it will also be how ready are they to join the workforce, how are we tracking that, did we put them into a job we've trained them for, and do they still have that job 2 years down the road? So there's some new stuff that's really kind of rolling down the hill as we figure it out, and that's part of the reason I've been careful about saying we know this is what we're going to have to spend, is because we're not sure what all of those elements are going to mean. We think we have a big chunk of that kind of leverage through the college, but we don't know to what length that we're doing that. So there are a lot of moving parts as we make this changeover, and I hate to say it, we're probably a little bit of a pilot in this, and I say we, I mean all of us in the room, because COIC had processes that over time had been built in, and there had never been a secondary competitive contract for the funding. So now, this is being used as, we're going to start instilling all of the reporting requirements and the auditing processes and everything to make sure that we have a competitive environment for these dollars going into the future. So we are a little bit of a guinea pig on we're one of the big contracts that's actually shifting. And so, now, the other thing, so did that help? Okay. So the other thing I would say, and I appreciate both Mark and Jeff, I really appreciate it. The things that you just said are all the things my boss tells me in every meeting I am at on the campus at KCC. It is about building hope. It is about connecting people to the future. It is about giving them the education and the skills that they need to be productive members of society. Figure it out from there. That's really kind of how Dr. Gutierrez approaches every meeting. So I need to give Jim time. You guys were a little bit ahead, and we're going to screw that up, so sorry. But I am going to close with a couple of things.
It's worth screwing it up for.
Okay, cool. This has been a great conversation, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate everybody being here and talking about it, and I really look forward to sitting down and kind of hammering this out over the next few weeks. But I want to attach some of the other little things that we're doing because of KCC's partnership, and I'm going to go through it very, very quickly, but we have been working on, in the time I've been at KCC, we've been working on figuring out how we can provide more skilled training for adults and youth in Lake County on the ground. How can we do that synchronously? How can we do that in some sort of hybrids? And we've actually made some good inroads in that, and I'm proud of them. We've continued a good relationship with the hospital here. They are now supporting a 6-member phlebotomy class here. This is the first time we've actually run that skill training here, and the hospital is helping us with that. we're excited to do that. We're going to be bringing about a medical assistant program next year in partnership, we hope, with the hospital again. That'll probably be also 6 students. We have to always match those up to the jobs in the market, so we're still working through some of those numbers. We have been as part of EQUIB, we've been part of leading on what is called a specialty value-added agriculture sector project, and that finally is in fruition. We have developed in partnership with OSU and the KCC agricultural program, we are doing an agricultural laborer training that's going to be offered both in Klamath and Lake County, so it'll be here. That is being funded in part by EQUIB to help with that, so the development of that and the actual delivery of the first couple of classes is already going. And then we'll be reaching out to the community and to the businesses that will be engaged in that to do that in the future. But that also has a youth component. So it's one of the things that we're looking at is how do we teach kids to safely drive a tractor and the kinds of things that they need to do. There's more of that coming. We are doing a workplace skills tune-up training that will have a youth component and an adult component that we will be offering here as well. So there's a broad, we're kind of approaching this pretty broadly and moving forward on all fronts whenever possible. And I share that because the Work Skills Technology Center, which I think you're going to be kind of focused on in the campaign and what we're trying to do with the physical plant there in Klamath, is going to be a big part of that. It will have additional synchronous training facilities. It will allow us to broaden our outreach, but it will also allow us to develop new programs and offer them in hybrid ways. There's some significant work going on. We've been asked to look at delivering drivers training across all of the county, both Klamath and Lake, for students who are unable to get to where there might be a driver's training course.
That touches on the question I had from the start. Talk about Lake County, and most of it's been centralized. How are we reaching out to Christmas Valley, Flush, Silver Lake?
And that will be part of the synchronous outreach that we're going to be doing. But also, I don't want to overstate it, but we've had internal discussions about there's a real need to be on the ground. How do we do that? So one of the things that within my department that we're working on the workplace training, and I don't really look at it as workforce training. I mean, I want to flip that to the business side. What do we need to be providing the workplace? What does that student need? So I'm slowly shifting my language a little bit about that. But we understand that there's a real need to be on the ground. So one of the things that we're going to be working on is recruitment of a group of adjunct instructors in each of the areas that will then be brought in and trained and then be back in their communities to provide the support for the synchronous delivery and to also be able to run the labs in the practical sense of what needs to be taking place. It's kind of new, but I think we're on our way. So some of the staff here at KCC will be getting some of that training, but we're also going to begin doing outreach to the outlying communities. Who are some of the folks that we can be tapping to make them part of our program? They'd be part-time, they'd be on call, they'd be, but how do we do this so that we can actually deliver with a physical presence in some of these communities? And it would all be done on the community ed side. That's one of the interests, we're still working through credit, non-credit, what that looks like, but it's easier for us to get the pilot in place on the community ed side. There's a little more maneuverability on that one.
Synchronizing, that would be through the telecommunications setup that ACC
Currently has
schools did to have that in each, like in North Lake School, Paisley School.
Correct. Chilligwin, so we have outreach in a lot of areas, both, Gilchrist, Crescent, and in northern Klamath County. And the big thing has been, admittedly, the schools themselves, there is an issue with time, who's there, who's on campus. That's one of the reasons we're looking at this adjunct instructor idea, is then maybe we can make everybody comfortable with the idea of giving this person a key to go use those after hours to really begin to utilize. Because right now, the synchronous classrooms are being done for the credit programming generally within the school day, and we haven't really expanded that for that workplace skill up or that the other kinds of things that we're doing at the different hours that maybe adults or older students are attracted to. So that's the idea behind that. And now, I'm gonna toss it to you, so we don't keep, because I think we're standing between them and lunch. So,
Oh, yeah.
just you're not- So, any other questions, I'm sorry? Go
I
ahead.
had a big breakfast, so keep on
Okay,
going.
keep talking. I'm gonna let Jim talk.
Thank you, Chip, I appreciate it, and I really want to thank the Board of Commissioners for inviting us over so that we could give this presentation. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all of our partnerships that we've had in the past, and KCC is going to be instrumental in providing partnerships in the future, I believe. And so I just wanted to say thank you. As you see on the capital campaign brochure, my name is Jim Belay. I'm co-chair of the capital campaign to raise $650,000 to put equipment inside the Work Skills Center. As you might know, that the KCC has 2 buildings being built. One of them is almost going to be completed. It will be completed by fall term. They are scheduling classes in it already. There's another building called Founders Hall that they just started construction on. They're just going through the foundation right now. And so the problem that we have is that we have to put equipment inside this building. And there's a lot of computers, a lot of equipment, a lot of expensive equipment. And so KCC has built these buildings without going out for a levy, without going to the taxpayer and saying we would like a levy to build these buildings. They've done it through physical management, good physical management, and grants, and taken a little bit out of their reserves to build these buildings to the tune of quite a few $1 million. I think this building, for details, Chip might have a little bit more information on that, but I think this building is about a $5–6 million building. And Founders Hall is probably real close to the exact same amount. So that is a lot.
And that's just not the building, but all the appliances that goes in.
This campaign is for the $650,000 is just for the equipment inside the building. Now, that's not HVAC or any electrical or anything else inside the building. It's only for the computers and other equipment that it needs to go into that so that we can start teaching the students. And I think that you have all received this pamphlet, and it kind of explains inside of it.
Oh, I got one the other day, but my fellow commissioners didn't.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Keep going. Thank you. And what I'd like to start out with is a presentation, as you can see on the board up there, if I can make the technology work. So,
Commissioner Shallon just tapped you, feel
it went backwards. Just left click, right?
Just, right.
Or just go over
Just
here?
go down.
Okay, okay. And the Work Skills Technology Center is under construction. It is, this building right here is the Work Skills Technology Center. And these are buildings that were built about 4 years ago. This is going to be Founders Hall here. The administration building right now is this one here, and this is where you go in and we have a lot of meetings where the kind of the student center in here. But this is the building that we're trying to raise the $650,000 to put equipment in. And that, in your brochure, it'll tell you exactly where that what that is going to be allocated to. I think we talked about synchronous technology, I think it is about $72,000 is what we need for that synchronous technology.
And Jim, just for clarification, that's to increase the offerings for synchronization.
Yes, yes, yes. We already have that already. It will, it will, I think there's 2 more classrooms in here that will be set up for synchronous.
And one of the things, so this is, from my perspective, right now, all of the synchronous classrooms are really in the academic area there. By having synchronous technology in the Work Skills Technology Center, we'll be able to do the workplace skill up and have more access and be able to output more of the workforce kinds of things that we've been doing both synchronously and then, in some hybrid sense. So it'll expand our opportunities there. It'll also expand the opportunity in the adult ed side because the adult GED, AESL, ABE will be moving into this space also, and we'll have access to that technology as well. So we're hoping that will kind of beef up our presence in adult GED as well.
And the crew that was working on this are about a month ahead of schedule. They actually worked clear through last winter, was able to fabricate the walls up in Bend at a factory up there, shipped them down and just stood them up with a crane, and they had all the walls standing in just a few days. So they're ahead of schedule. This kind of gives you an idea of what is going in the building. There's, I won't read all the way through that, everybody can see it, but the computer labs are really going to be state-of-the-art. There's 4 classrooms, 2 synchronous, community education office, workforce office, student study areas, conference room. And if you've had an opportunity, or if you haven't had an opportunity to go through it, the building, next time you're over there, just let us know and we'll set up a tour of the building. This was December 2017, picture of the building. And as you know, we had quite a bit of snowfall through that period of time, but they kept going. This is after they got all the walls up. And this was, I think that they actually, they had the walls up and the trusses on, and it started snowing pretty hard, and that's a picture of them. But they kept going and finally got the roof on. And so that was December. This is January 2017. You see the plywood on the roof there. And this is February. So they actually started getting it pretty well dried in February. And this is June, and it's got siding on it, it's painted. The campaign at a glance, our goal is $650,000. We have signed pledges, cash paid in pledges of $276,400. Challenge grant match from the Ford Foundation is $200,000. And the ask currently made and decisions pending approximately 3 or 4 at $100,000. So our campaign goal is hopefully reached by August 1st, so we're getting pretty close, and September we hope to have the campaign finished.
Jim,
So we're getting up there quite a little bit. Yes.
on the pledges, is that from different businesses or?
Yes.
et cetera?
Yes. And this is a 3-year campaign to collect the money. And so what we're asking is, if people make a large contribution and they can't afford it all in 1 year, they can pledge that over a 3-year period. So if you had 15,000, you could pledge 5,000 a year, and it kind of helps a little bit for companies to kind of schedule that rather than write a check for, the all amount all at once. So the pledges are quite a few of them that are bigger from individuals that is quite large. They're pledging over 3 years. So they didn't have to come up with the money immediately. So we're at 73% of our goal already. We just went public just a few days ago, and we have quite a few opportunities to have other people give us quite a little bit, like Lake County and Klamath County and City Klamath Falls. Economic development funds, I think that these kind of fall in that economic development fund, maybe not having to go out for taxpayer money that people have paid into the county. Economic development funds are getting a little tighter, but I think that this is definitely an economic development driver for Klamath and Lake County. So with that, is there any questions?
Well, I totally agree with you on that last statement, Jim, and my fellow members can speak to this however they would like to, but I was talking to Chip, but I was more talking to I forgot kind of our format last Thursday night. We're all in this together as a partnership, and I guess I would say as one commissioner, I am, but it's we are dedicated to making Klamath Community College highly successful in Lake County. Hopefully, our only community college of record. We currently have 3. We have funds going to 3 different, and the one who provides the most service is getting the least amount of money. So within that, embedded in that, my comment is, if we can somehow figure out how to change a taxing district that's in the north end of the county supporting COCC into a countywide taxing district supporting KCC, and couple that with any contracts that the state issues for community college services, they issue those on a competitive basis to KCC, then I think we've met our goal and our true desire to support KCC in the best way we possibly can. While these little dollars add up to make big dollars as you've displayed, we need to have permanent funding for the community college that's taking the greatest risk and providing us with the biggest rewards here in our community, our communities countywide. It is phenomenal. I can't say it enough. I know what's been going on with this, and to all of you, whether it's in the fundraising aspect, because your true dedication to what's going on with the college there, Jim, and Chip's work, not just as now at KCC, but in the past through workforce in the chamber and all of the different things. So that's my concluding comments, is thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate that. And as you have seen, KCC is committed. The president of the college is definitely committed. He wants really a good partnership between KCC, Klamath and Lake County working together. And I really believe that we're going to have a great future. And this is the first capital campaign that the KCC has actually gone out for. We actually had asked the voters whether or not, a few years back, whether or not they wanted to support a levy, and the voters did not want to support that levy. And President Gutierrez, he decided, okay, we're not going to do that. We're going to do it in a different way, because the voters didn't want to do that. And so this is the first capital campaign that the KCC has actually went out into the communities and asked for help. And they definitely have stepped up themselves with millions of dollars to make this work. And he's committed to this workforce technology center, and he really wants it to succeed. And it's 500 students a year is what they're looking to put through this technology center. And that's a lot. And Lake County, just like Klamath County, where we need that workforce. We need a skilled workforce, and one that can stay in town and fill those opportunities for employment. So with that, I do have a letter that I would like to give you. It's a letter. It's asked for $25,000. For over a period of 3 years, if that lightens the load a little bit. So we have asked Klamath County for the same amount. And what we would like to do is try to raise about $72,000 in Lake County to help provide for this synchronous education. And I know that that is very important for the students over here in Lake County, where they don't have to drive to Klamath Falls for an hour and a half each way, and they can go to classroom right here in Lake County. So, that's our ask, and money's tight, but we're getting close to our goal, and I think we're gonna make it. So we really would like an opportunity to have you in the mix. We are going to be over here next Wednesday. We're meeting with Rotary and Optimus at the Elks Lodge, I believe, and for lunch on next Wednesday. And Colonel Steve Harper, my co-chair, will be at that meeting. He was out of town today, and he regretted not being able to make it here, but because he likes to fly over with me.
On this subject of Lake County, I'll speak for myself and talk to you, but eventually to embrace KCC greater in financial, maybe a taxing district. It's going to take a lot of education to the populace. And that's where we're working with our local newspaper. And also non-local newspaper, because lots of people don't subscribe to the Examiner up in Europe. But it really takes a lot of education of the benefits of having a community college. And that's exactly what you guys have been talking about all this morning, is education leads to economics.
Right. Very true.
Yeah, I think I'll just restate it again. You know, we've got a taxing district in the north end of the county. I don't know how to skin that cat. I think there's been multiple attempts to figure that out. But it's to the tune of about $125,000 that I'd love to see going to KCC personally. And then the rest of the county get into a similar taxing district so that we can support the school. But also, and I don't want to lose that concept, is we have contracts from the state of Oregon that are out there for some of our entities here in the county, that it'd be nice if those contracts were with KCC to support the operations and the commitment. So I think we can work on that side. And I'll just make a quick comment. I'll ask for consensus by the board with this letter. I'd like to put this for some follow-up discussion on our meeting. I think prior to your getting here this morning, I think, maybe not, we opened up our, you know the time with the Commissioner, our budget hearing, 1st of 2, and then adoptions the 21st of June. But I'd like to just discuss this a little bit tomorrow, if you guys don't mind adding it to the agenda. We don't know what we're gonna do, but just to have it on the agenda up in Fort Rock tomorrow.
We each will have our personal checkbooks with us.
There you go. Yeah, we are accepting from individuals.
Now, Commissioner Sean brought up COCC in the northern part, very exceptional community college, but they are, the northern part of citizens are contributing $100,000 in taxes plus the $20,000 for facility and mattress, etc. But there is a gentleman up there who is working with COCC and with ACCC on what can be done with that scenario.
Well, we have a synchronous classroom in
Yes.
North Lake, so we're already there.
Yes.
And a while back, I solicited from the superintendent the services provided from KCC versus COCC, and it was an enormous amount of contribution from KCC.
There's a big effort for a dual enrollment up there right now. One of my compatriots in the hallway where I work is helping lead a dual enrollment for their juniors and seniors, getting college credit at the same time. And that would be delivered through the synchronous classroom there. I don't know where it is at the moment. I've kind of let them work that out before I've started butting in and talking about synchronous delivery and after hours kind of stuff. I wanted to work and nail it down, but there's a big effort to provide college courses.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We could discuss it tomorrow.
We can't thank you enough for coming over today. And hopefully it was, as you said before, helpful to you with the folks that are here today to talk
I have
about the
cards.
programs.
So before I go,
They're giving me one of those too.
I made sure I had a pocket full before I got here.
I'll take one because I don't
You got
have
it.
current contact.
Yeah, to check out all my old stuff.
Here, Chip.
To go back, Chip, on the other issues with our youth and everything, is there any funding mechanisms on that side that's being missed because of the partnerships and everything? Whenever these young adults and youth, we sort of help bring them out of the system. Somebody benefits, the taxpayer benefits.
Yep.
And so is there anything, any funding opportunities on that side that's being missed? Is there anything that can be implemented in the court system? Is there anything, the federal agencies, the state agencies, and everything that is, for me, it's very important with these youth and these adults that we're getting some skills and sort of breaking that generational thing. And so I just wrote down, you know, is there, and I know everybody's trying to think of everything, but is there any partnerships or funding that's being overlooked that's maybe obvious? That
Are you specifically, are we talking about Klamath County or just kind of in our little region with how we
Well,
approach it?
I guess I'm being pretty specific to Lake County right now.
That's great.
And the value that I've seen over the years and everything. And we have a great group of people here today. Everybody says what a great thing it is, but we all have to, there's a cost.
Well, and the thing I would say, and this is what I'd say to everybody who's here, is you guys all have skin in the game. And that's a model that we're going to be trying to build on and expand. So this has been kind of, for us, as we look at what this process looks like and how we can be leveraging both dollars and resources. And when I look at resources, it goes beyond the finances. I mean, just people's energy and willingness to step up and help is a resource. I think you are actually a little bit ahead of the curve, even from what I'm seeing in Klamath on this kind of partnership. I think there's definitely an opportunity to expand it. You know, we talked a little bit about wildland fire and those things. So some of the things that we're working on are those kinds of skill up and training. We've just started working with the Klamath Falls PD, and we'll be reaching out to the Klamath Sheriff's Department, the Lake County Sheriff's Department on a series of trainings around police training. So we're trying to figure out where those are and who we can be working with that would really either be professional development, skill up, or the potential of moving young people into those kinds of jobs, emergency response positions, first responders, you know, and how we all work together. But honestly, the reason I want to come back and visit with the folks here is I think you're the model, and I want to figure out how to work on that and expand it, because I think it really shows that.
Just a couple of things. The county's been a partnership with COIC with our incubator building down there for a site to be able to be used. I think, and sort of speaking to the school and everything too, is there's a certain value for separation from the school for some of the students to be out of that setting, and that's not a bad thing. That's possibly a good thing, that some of these youth need that separation. So us as a partner, we've been able to work well with COIC and our incubator building, have that off-site place for these people to go with these kids and everything to go. Jeff can
It's a
speak
very
much
big
more.
deal, and that's very true with our youth too. That's pretty important, you know, and that's, you know, where we're going out, you know, keep them separated.
Yeah.
You know, so, and what you guys have done with that building has been a really important factor in what we're able to do, you know, with a lot of our projects and just keeping all of our equipment.
I think you're right. We have several things that could be used as a model, and we all have our own passions and different things, but with our superintendent, with our people that work there, they understand the separation and the need for this or that. So really appreciate it. I know we got the right person there with you. You mentioned the time.
Don't say that too soon.
You mentioned the time, when you mentioned the time frame to be able to get this put together, I said, we got the right person here, Chip. So thank you,
We're going
and
to
Jim.
keep the pressure on.
Jim?
Yes, sir.
And Jim, I was reiterate what I said earlier. Any way to get information out to our citizens of what KCC is striving for, and you guys, so forth. It helps education goes a long ways. Every time you need to call on the citizens to help us.
And we have a group of people over here that we've met with and trying to get the word out. That's why we're meeting with Rotary and Romulus and trying to, this is mainly, next week is mainly for the campaign, but even if it's a campaign that gets that information out, people get to know a little bit more about KCC. And it's even, here, the campus over in Klamath Falls is getting quite large. And we have people going on tours there that say, I didn't know this was here. You know, I didn't know you guys did this, you know, and they're really surprised. And so that education, getting out into the community, getting the education, and that's why this campaign is addressing that problem. We want to go out into the community and get everybody a little bit more knowledgeable about what KCC can provide, and that's why this campaign came about, to try to do that. And I think it's working. It takes a while. There's not an awful lot of alumni yet, you know, in the community. It's only been there 20 years, and it's not like OIT that's been there for a few more decades, or Oregon State or Oregon, where they have a lot of alumni that support them, but they're working in that way. They'd like for the community to be involved, and that's why we're going out to this campaign and get the knowledge for the individuals that say, oh yeah, KCC. You know, you would think that there would be a lot of knowledge out there, because we have 5,000 unduplicated head count this year. That's a lot of people. That's unduplicated head count that have taken at least one class. There's a little less than 2,000 FTE, full-time equivalent students. It's large, you know. You would think, well, gosh, with unduplicated head count at close to 5,000 people, you would think that the community would really know about it. You know, but there's still the people that say, I didn't know you did this. And so that education is very important.
And social media.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, well, once again, thank you very much. Thank all of you for coming today and sharing your thoughts on the value, and we're on the right road. We really appreciate it. We're gonna take, we've got a timed item, 11:15, but we're gonna take about a 7-minute recess here.
The right road doesn't fit so bad.
I know.